October 1970, the Army deployed against Canadian citizens. Nearly 500 people detained without charge. No trial, no explanation. All of it legal. All of it popular. This is the story of when Canada looked into the mirror of liberal democracy and blinked. This is the October Crisis.
The Great Lakes St. Lawrence lowlands lie at the southernmost part of Canada's largest two provinces, Ontario and Quebec.
For much of the 20th century, Quebec existed in a kind of quiet repression. While the English-speaking minority ran factories, corporations, and banks, the French-speaking majority was often locked out of power, both economically and politically. Then came the Quiet Revolution, a cultural movement and institutional reorganization where Quebecers reconsidered what they wanted their society to look like. During this period, the Catholic Church lost its grip on schools and hospitals, the province nationalized Hydro-Quebec, and a new professional class of francophones emerged. But alongside this modernization came something more volatile: nationalism. And not just cultural pride, but a real, organized desire for sovereignty, for Quebec to become its own country. Most pursued this goal peacefully, through parties like the Parti Québécois, but not all. A small group, called the Front de Libération du Québec, or FLQ, believed that only violence could break Canada's hold on Quebec. Between 1963 and 1970, the FLQ carried out over 160 bombings and several robberies. Their targets included federal buildings, mailboxes, and army recruitment centers. This was classic insurgency strategy: low resource, high symbolism. The goal wasn't military victory, it was narrative disruption, to show that Canada was a colonizer and Quebec its colony. Then, in October 1970, they escalated. On October 5th, the FLQ kidnapped James Cross, a British trade commissioner in Montreal. On October 10th, another FLQ cell kidnapped Pierre Laporte, Quebec's Minister of Labour. And suddenly, Canada had a hostage crisis. The FLQ had leverage, and the federal government had a decision to make. Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau, Justin's father, was a cerebral constitutional scholar who dressed like a beatnik and spoke like a philosopher. But in this moment, he was steel.
Well, there's a lot of bleeding hearts around who just don't like to see people with helmets and guns. All I can say is go on and bleed, but it's more important to keep law and order in this society than to be worried about weak-kneed people who don't like the looks of a soldier.
At any cost? At any cost? How far would you go with that? How far would you extend that?
Well, just watch me.
And then he made a move that would redefine Canadian civil liberties. He invoked the War Measures Act. This was a law from World War I. It had never been used in peacetime. It suspended habeas corpus. It allowed arrests without charges. It sent troops into Canadian cities, and it was immensely popular. Polls showed 85 to 90% support across the country, even higher outside Quebec. The public wasn't just afraid of the FLQ, they were afraid of losing control. And Trudeau promised control. The consequences were immediate. 497 people were arrested without charge. Many were intellectuals, union organizers, artists, people with no link to the FLQ. Houses were raided, offices were searched, rights were ignored. And then, on October 17th, Pierre Laporte's body was found in the trunk of a car near a military base, strangled with the same chain that held his crucifix. That moment, his death, turned the public against the FLQ decisively. Weeks later, Cross was freed, alive. His kidnappers were flown to Cuba, where Fidel Castro granted them asylum. The Laporte kidnappers were caught by December. The FLQ dissolved in disgrace, and the October Crisis ended. It's a story about what democracies do when they feel threatened. What Trudeau did worked. It restored order. But at what cost? That's the democratic paradox. To preserve freedom, we often suspend it. We tell ourselves that these are extraordinary measures for extraordinary times, but every time we do that, we redraw the boundaries of what is acceptable. And those boundaries don't always go back. The lessons of the October Crisis are more important than ever. Think about how governments respond to fear today. After 9/11, the US introduced the Patriot Act, built mass surveillance systems, and redefined entire legal categories. During COVID, governments across the world, including Canada, invoked emergency powers. Some were proportionate, others maybe not. During the Freedom Convoy protests in 2022, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, Pierre's son, invoked the Emergencies Act. The justification? A threat to public safety and national order. And most recently, in response to global pro-Palestinian protests, some politicians have called for criminalizing speech or protest deemed unacceptable. We now reach for emergency powers faster and with more confidence because we've done it before. Every time we say this moment is different, we normalize the tools of authoritarianism. And the public, we often go along because fear is persuasive, because chaos is exhausting, because authority feels like safety. But history warns us. Democracies don't always die in some dramatic coup. It dies in moments like these. Slowly, legally, even politely. Fear is coming back. Again and again. And every time it does, we're asked the same question. How much freedom are we willing to give up to feel safe? The answer in 1970 was quite a lot. What will the answer be next time?